Global governance. Global governance refers to the collective efforts to identify, understand, and address worldwide problems that go beyond the problem-solving capacities of states. Refers to the collective efforts. Collective meaning hindi isa. May kasama ka. Sama-sama. Di ba parang collection? Iba't iba. So, it's related to collect. Iba't ibang parts. Collective efforts to identify, understand, and address worldwide problems that go beyond the problem-solving capacities of state. So, these are problems na beyond na sa iisang bansa. And para ma-resolve mo ito, kailangan mo ng approach na kayo ay sama-sama. Another definition of global governance, it's the capacity of within the international systems at any given moment to provide government, like services and public goods in the absence of the world government. It is a combination of informal and formal ideas, values, rules, norms, procedures, policies, practices, and organizations that help all actors, states, international organizations, non-government organizations to identify, understand, and address transboundary problems. So, capacity ito ng ating interstate system, the international system na makapagbigay ng mga services na katulad na pinoprovide ng mga government pero in the absence of a world government. Kasi nga, di ba nga wala naman tayong Prime Minister of the world, wala naman tayong President of the world, pero with the global governance, nagkakaroon tayo ng kakayanan ang bansa to set out policies, to sign treaties, mga kasunduan na to ensure na sama-sama nating ma-identify, sama-sama nating maiintindihan at sama-sama nating masusolusyonan yung mga transboundary problems. Pag sinabi mong transboundary, tumatawid sa mga boundaries ng mga bansa, sa mga teritoryo ng mga bansa. So basically, that's the idea of global governance. Governance refers to the processes and institutions, formal and informal, whereby rules are created, compliance is elicited, and goods are provided in pursuit of collective goals. Governance has shaped global politics in important ways and is a rapidly growing area of both activity and research. There are at least 3 new forms of global or transnational governance. First, there is governance through multi-stakeholder initiatives, which brings together various public and private actors into public policy networks and partnerships. It usually involves at least one state actor and various international institutions, as well as NGOs and private sector organizations of various sorts. Multi-stakeholder initiatives are voluntary partnerships o yung kusang pakikipagsosyo sa pagitan ng governments, civil society, and the private sector para matugunan ang mga hamon sa pag-unlad na sama-sama. Multi-stakeholder initiatives provide governance in the form of service provision, for example, the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Industrial standards, for example, the World Commission on Dams, and labor standards in global value chain. The second and most common form of global governance involves the creations of voluntary regulations. In voluntary regulatory system, MNCs agree to a set of social and or environmental practices that go beyond the stated or enforced set of laws and area in which they operate. Sometimes, these standards are created directly by the companies in a given sector, for example, a code of conduct, and are little more than public relation tools. But in other cases, the standards are developed, monitored, and enforced through an extensive network of international organizations, for example, the NGOs, social movement organizations, states, IGOs, and etc. One example of this voluntary form of regulation is the Forest Stewardship Council, or FSC, which seeks to promote sustainable forestry. The Forest Stewardship Council brings together environmental and social NGOs, forestry corporations, and scientific institutions in the development of forestry standards that are monitored and enforced through independent third-party certification. Forest Stewardship Council, ito ay samahan na nagtataguyod ng responsableng pamamahala ng mga kagubatan sa buong mundo. Bumuo ang FSC ng isang sistema ng forest certification at product labeling na nagbibigay daan sa mga tao na makilala ang responsableng source ng kahoy, papel at iba pang mga produktong panggubat. Not all systems of voluntary regulation feature a specific set of standards that are monitored and enforced. For example, the Global Compact, created by former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, encompasses 10 basic principles by which businesses around the world should voluntarily conduct their affairs. Kung saan ang mga negosyo sa buong mundo ay dapat kusang loob magsagawa ng kanilang mga gawain. It facilitates learning and capacity building in the development and implementation of these social and environmental principles. For example, businesses should support human rights, eliminate compulsory labor, and promote greater environmental responsibility, but it is not enforced or monitored. Pinapadali nito ang pag-aaral at pagbuo ng kakayahan sa pagpapaunlad at pagpapatupad ng mga alintuntunin sa panlipunan at pangkapaligiran, ngunit hindi ito ipinatutupad o sinusubaybayan. Third, there are transnational arbitration bodies, where global governance has been accorded to courts and lawyers, but their authority is not based in international law. For example, the North American Free Trade Agreement or NAFTA has an environmental side agreement that strives to make sure that member countries follow their own environmental laws. Through North American Commission for Environmental Cooperation or CEC, citizens may submit evidence exposing their country's failure to enforce its environmental law. One important area of governance is the world economy. All the other forms of governance identified in these sections are involved in overseeing that economy. There are at least 5 interdependent levels at which it can operate.